Razzaban for FightHype.com. With me, I've got head of Sky Sports Boxing, Adam Smith.
Hi.
Adam, wow. What a press conference.
Well, it was always going to be interesting, wasn't it? Where you bring the two characters like David Haye and Tony Bellew together. You know, they don't like each other. That's obvious. That's more obvious now. And, you know, look, they both want to talk. And they're probably two of the best talkers in British boxing, certainly in the last 10, 15 years. They really are. You know, Tony says it as it is, heart on his sleeve. David says it in a slightly different way, but also I think a little bit of heart on sleeve as well. I mean, he obviously believes it's an easy fight. He's gonna win well, David. Whereas Tony wants to rattle him, wants to get every advantage psychologically he can, and he knows that he's got power, and that he's got the ability to maybe take David Haye out. I mean, Haye's going to be a big favourite in my eyes when they get into the ring. But I think Tony Bellew is going to do everything that he can in the next however many weeks we have until March the 4th to try and make David loose and sort of lose it, which I think maybe he did there a little bit.
I was going to say that we've seen in the past Tony Bellew get emotionally involved with his opponent.
Yeah.
And we haven't really seen that David. It's like David today. Some hit a nerve that we've never.
Well, we've had times, haven't we, with David and Derek Chisora in the past. But I mean, you know, David's normally pretty cool and he sort of stays away from that. I remember when we did the press conference for him and Tyson Fury, and Tyson was banging on the tables, and David played the sort of quiet guy there. And back when Audley Harrison challenged him, Audley was talking all the time, and David just listened. But he's bitten here. He obviously, wants to take Tony Bellew out now, and I think that he believes, as with Shane McGuigan, that they can do that. But on the other side, you've got Dave Caldwell, who's been in David Haye's camp for a long time. Tony Bellew, who's a big puncher, at cruiserweight, and I'm sure he will be at heavyweight. Yes, on paper, the stats probably land in favour of David Haye, but you had the inactivity, the form that Bellew's in, the madness that Bellew has, and you never know.
Prior to going off with Tony Bellew, David started on promoter Eddie Hearn. What's the valid reasons for him to do that?
I don't know. Not many people have said things like that to Eddie, have they? I mean, look, Eddie does it his way. I think he's a brilliant promoter. I love his style. I think the fighters around him love his style as well. Just like his dad, he's got a great way with words, like father, like son. Slightly different characters, Barry and Eddie, but they've both been terrific in their own way. Barry was phenomenal in what he did with Chris Eubank, and obviously what he's done in the snooker and darts world and everything else, and a brilliant boxing promoter too. But Eddie's the new boxing promoter, and he likes talking to you guys all the time. He likes getting onto social media, engaging with the fans. Does he like getting his face in front of camera? Of course he does. I think the fighters that are in his stable like that. I think some haven't got the personality of Tony or David, and they need Eddie to help them with that. And but it was a really interesting tactic from David, and he did bite a bit, didn't he, Eddie?
Was there any point you were looking to intervene for that?
I just sat back and watched it all unfold. It was it's all good banter. Of course, at the end it wasn't. It got a little nasty. We don't want that. We don't want fists throwing. We don't want like we had with David and Derek Chisora in the past, bottles throwing like we had recently with Derek and Dylan White, and in the gloves are off. We don't want that behaviour to over spill. You just want it really, but huge banter, huge great sort of fire, the bows and arrows between them. But let's leave the fighting to the ring, because that's what they're paid for, and that's what we all want to see. We all want to see what happens on March the 4th. We all want to enjoy the build-up. We love the fact that they're going to talk a lot, that they're great characters, great personalities, and that they've got this needle, this dislike for each other. But when we bring them together, for example, for Gloves Are Off, we're going to have to be we're going to have to be very careful, because the last thing we want is it all to turn over again and people to get injured. Now that's not what we want at all. The British board will be looking very closely at that. And we'll probably, Robert Smith will probably want them to be kept apart as much as possible in the build-up, and so we've got to be aware of that. But they've got responsibilities too. Both of them. They're bright guys. David and Tony, you know, they're full of emotion when they come together. So they've just got to take a little bit of responsibility as well to make sure that it doesn't get out of hand, but that it is good. It's good TV.
So obviously after this we move on to Big Fight Week next week.
Yeah, I can't wait.
You mentioned Robert Smith there, who also said he doesn't want Dylan and Derek to come face to face.
I think that's right. I think actually, you know, we've had them on Gloves Are Off, and there was an issue, so we made sure that they were split up and they went their separate ways. And I think it probably would be wrong to get the two of them head to head again on the week. I think we can. Yeah, there's enough interest in the fight anyway. The Gloves Are Off is going out, so you know we know that they don't like each other, just like these two, and I think we have to be a little bit careful.
Adam, thank you for giving me a little bit of your time, and we'll catch up with you next week during Fight Week.
No, I look forward to it.
Adam Smith for FightHype.com. Thank you very much.
Cheers.